Alright, we're live.
Okay, we got director Ozzy here now. Just took an entire film school in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hit the recording button, director.
Oh, okay. Just for you guests who don't know, basically me and Max started the podcast, and then I was telling him it's funny because sometimes my guests know more about cameras than me,
Yeah.
and he was like, I can educate you. So we just cut the podcast, and he taught me for 30 minutes how to operate a camera. And he's been on YouTube 1 year, and I've been on YouTube 4 years. So
1 year's pushing it.
it's a little embarrassing on my end. But I was telling him, I just care so much more about conversation quality than camera quality. And there's actually something that sparked that for me, and I got to tell you the story.
Yeah.
Because I was on Facebook Reels. I was posting a podcast clip on Facebook Reels, and there was a video with 30 million views on Facebook Reels, and it was some of the worst quality I've ever seen in my life. It was, you would have thought it was 120p. It looked like a potato. Horrible quality. And I was like, how could a video this terrible have 30 million views? So I started watching it. And essentially, it was this crowd. They stood up and clapped, and it had some text explaining the story. Here's what the story was. It was a guy in the audience sitting down, and all these people in the audience getting up and clapping for him. The guy was a German citizen during Nazi Germany, and every single person in the audience was a little Jewish kid that he saved.
I saw that video. I've seen
that he
video.
saved when they were little kids. And so the story was so good that even though it was 120p, it was the worst video quality I've ever seen in my life. It had 30 million views. And I was like, all right, if this can get 30 million views, what I've learned is that story matters much more than quality. And I liken it to, do you remember back in high school, there's a video of two kids fighting, and sometimes someone takes a horrible video where it's all shaky, but everyone's listening to the audio.
World star.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. What's more important, video or audio?
I was literally just about to talk about that. Everyone I've ever talked to and people that I've learned from always say it's audio. I mean, that's why podcasts work.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to watch a video unless this is 1920s.
Yeah.
And you're like, what was his name? Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
You're not going to watch a video without audio. And they even had music.
Yeah.
But you'll listen to audio without video. That's why audiobooks work. That's why podcasts work. It's so much more important to have good audio. That's why we hit record to be safe, bro. That's why next podcast we're gonna get new mics, 32-bit raw. Hey, nice yerba. Woo. It's so much more important. I mean, you can, and to the second part, one thing I was gonna say before I had my 101 class with you. Cinematics are a great thing to add, and I know a lot of creators who like kind of use it as a crutch. Like they don't really have any story, and just like, this is a beautiful shot, this is a beautiful shot, this is a beautiful shot, and it's cool, but it's only relevant if the story is good too. Something that's cinematic first doesn't matter. Like when I was journaling yesterday about like content and like client work, it's always cool to have cinematics. People love that like really cool shot. But if you don't have a story to back it up, no one really cares, except like maybe two really geeky cinematic people. Yeah.
That's really interesting you say that. I don't know why this came to mind. Actually, it makes complete sense why it came to mind. But Mac Miller has an album called Watching Movies with the Sound Off. And I wonder if he actually did that. Because based on what we just talked about, it seems really illogical.
Well, you could use for movies, you could use the subtitles, I guess.
I think, though, that I've seen people who make trailers for movies or trailers even for podcasts, and they'll break down movie trailers, and they'll play the trailer with with only sound.
Yeah.
Only sound effects. And so it will just be the music and the sound effects, and it will still give you the emotion. Because your goal with video is to create an emotion. Mm-hmm. And it's way easier to get an emotion from music or a sound than it is to get it from a visual. Although it is possible.
Well, I mean, it's possible now with like modern Facebook Reels. You're like sitting on the subway and you just read the subtitles and you're like, that's pretty good. But I don't think I've ever heard of a case where a video without sound is stronger than something just sound. I mean, think of music. Literally, music is like an answer to that question. And then there's like music videos, which like adds on top of the music.
Yeah.
But like just the sound, the quality is so big. And that's something I've always tried to get better at, and something that I think is so crucial and like really splits the difference between like really good director editors and like ones just starting out is sound design, because that's how you get really immersive in your stories.
Yeah.
Obviously, no matter what, story comes first. Learn how to tell a story, but like I think the next step after like really good music is like sound design, because that really puts you in places for videos.
I want to tell you a story and get your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a story of success versus significance.
Okay.
Actually, before that, I should do my intro, which I haven't done. Welcome back to the show, Respectfully Inspired with Aussie Films. I like to start off every episode with my why behind the podcast, which is that I want to change the way people measure success. So most people measure success by money, possessions, achievements, or status. And the goal of my podcast is to change the way people measure success to relationships and memories. Today, I'm here with Max Rattner. He clearly knows a lot about videography and photography, as he's educating me right now. He also is Mr. Beast's son. Dude, I don't even know how to introduce you, so go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Welcome back to the podcast. I've thought about this so much. I just like to do the simplest tagline, like director and creator. That's what I put on LinkedIn. That's what I put on everything. The long version is director, creator, and dad joke enthusiast. That's what I had on my website for a hot sec.
You do make dad jokes now that I think of it.
I make a lot of dad jokes. My humor is just like shit posting and dad jokes.
Today you posted a Muppet on your Instagram story.
Yeah.
And I at first I swiped past it, and then I swiped back and I was like, this guy just posted a Muppet on his Instagram.
And then he saw it was me.
And then I was just like, what? I didn't get it, but I laughed. And I just moved on.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. All right. I got a story for you.
Tell me the story.
The story is about success versus significance, and it's gonna be deep. So in this definition, what success is what you accomplish for yourself. It's your personal achievements. It's how you choose to measure your success. And it's a little counterintuitive for what I just explained with success as my intro. But for the point of this story, success is what you do for yourself. Significance is what you do for others.
Okay.
And there's this guy, I forgot his name, about 14 years ago, he was a world-class photographer. And he went to a country in Africa. And he was doing some photography to show like the wealth gap, to show these people who live in poverty. And at one point he's walking through the slums of Africa and he sees a little starving child bent over on his knees trying to reach a food center. Out of nowhere, a giant vulture lands next to the starving child and it looks like it's going to eat the child. So the guy snaps a few photos and then he walks over and he shoos the vulture off. And then as he's walking away, the vulture comes back. And then he snaps over, he shoos the vulture off. And he's thinking, should I carry this starving child to the food center? But before he came, they told him don't interact with the locals because the locals have diseases. They are unclean. You shouldn't. So after like 2 or 3 times shooing off the vulture, he takes some pictures and he decides to go. And he doesn't do anything about the kid. He doesn't know what happens. He just leaves. He tells people the story. A couple months later, he submits the photo to Time magazine, and he wins Time magazine photo of the year. He submits it to New York City or some New York magazine.
Yeah.
They take it. It's the most popular photo of the year. They use it in every magazine, and he ends up winning the Pulitzer Prize Award. And it's pretty much the biggest photography award you can win. So he wins the Pulitzer Prize Award for like significant photo or something. And so he basically reaches this peak of success as a photographer. He gets a Time magazine photo of the year. He gets Pulitzer Prize photo, like peak success for photography. And a couple months later, he kills himself. And people people aren't exactly sure why, but a lot of people hypothesize that he had all the success in the world. As a photographer, he reached like the LeBron James of photography, but he let that child just sit there with the vulture. And a lot of people think that the significance, he's like, he had all the success in the world, but the significance of helping that child or being there, they think that's what led him to suicide. As creators who are building our own personal brand and we're doing stuff all the time, what are your thoughts on success versus significance?
That was a good story.
Steve.
Well, first I just want to talk about that story. Damn. This was like 10-ish years ago.
Yeah, 10 to 15 years ago.
That's crazy. I mean, my initial perspective, just put yourself in the shoes of that guy. I'm sure literally,
Yeah.
as soon as he got on the plane back home, it was still in his head. Did he do the right thing? But he goes ahead, he submits everything, submits all of his work. And then all of that happens, and every single time he gets an award, it reminds him, it puts him back in the place. That's just terrifying. I mean, it's part of it is hindsight to him.
Yeah.
Maybe he went and saved the child, but the child unknowingly gives him disease, and he passes away from that.
Yeah.
You never know, but in his head, his success is derived from someone possibly dying or someone in pain.
And
that's crazy.
To be honest, I love sharing the story, and it's a story that really changed the way I live, but I don't know what I would have done in the moment.
It's
really hard.
It's so hindsight to be I would have saved that kid.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe you would have died. You don't know.
Who knows? And but I think the thing I took away from it is, and this is soul wealth, if you measure success by relationships and memories.
I know so well.
Yeah, you know. It's so easy to get caught up in your work and just idolize yourself, idolize your own journey, your career. And what the story, if I took anything away from it, is I hope that I make more time for other people, that I make more time to help other people. And I actually really appreciate you sitting down here, because I know you're busy and you can fill your day up, but just sitting down here and being a part of my journey means a lot. So,
whatever.
It's something I really think about.
Could you ask first of all, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah.
Could you ask the question one more time? It was about significance versus.
So, just when building your career.
Yeah.
And thinking about your journey, where you're going to be, your personal brand, and all the success you could have, where is significance in helping others? What role does it play, if any?
Yeah. No, I hate people, bro. Watch it. I'm coming for you. That's such a good question. I mean, the first thought and most initial and tangible way I could do it is why I started my creative agency. I think I've talked to you a little bit about it, but I don't know if I told you the main reason for it. It's called Story Bottle, and the whatever, creative agency, freelance, blah blah blah. But the main part, the meat and why I created it, is a concept called personal documentaries.
Yeah.
And basically, what personal documentaries are, to me, is the answer to I want to meet my great grandchildren.
Yeah.
No one can do that. I'm sure everyone. That's why ancestry.com and a bunch of those websites exist. Yeah. People are so interested in their history and culture and family heirlooms and traditions, but it's really hard to know a person, and not everyone is big enough to get their own Netflix documentaries. So my solution to that was personal documentaries, going to people's home, sitting with them for few hours a day, a weekend, just getting, generally right now, elders of the home, getting to know their story, and then putting together a documentary for their own kind of value, but more intentionally, it's gonna have so much value in 10, 20, 30 years after they move on. It's something really cool, because I think it solves a problem, but also it combines one of my favorite projects to do, which is documentaries.
Dude, that reminds me of something Chris Duncan was telling me about.
Yeah.
Chris is our friend.
Nah, we hate Chris.
I don't know what it was called.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Storyworth.
It was built yet.
Oh, okay.
But it's an AI that essentially you upload footage of your life, because a lot of people in our era almost everyone in our generation is recording your life. And so you
especially here.
upload footage of your life, and you pay like a lifetime subscription. I believe it's a really small amount. And then the AI hosts your videos about your life. It hosts it, and it kind of locks them up in a timeline. And then as when you die, your family can unlock it and like watch your life. And I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but I thought that was a really interesting concept. So it's basically like an ancestry.com that will be for video, that will be hosted by an AI.
It's like a personal time capsule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that's interesting. Another thing that I have heard of before is, I can't remember where I saw this on LinkedIn or if it was a YouTuber, that he had a grandma who's old. I don't know if she was dying, but she's like, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And he hired a writer to sit down with her every week and basically write a story of her life. And I don't think he turned it into a book or anything. It was just like a family possession where you can pass it down.
Yeah.
Like,
they have a company like that. Yeah. And like when I'm able to really put time into this, I wrote it down. I was like, I should partner with them. It's called Storyworth. I was talking to Chris about it. That's why I brought it up. But yeah, you like answer monthly questions, then they compile it into a book. So
really?
Not as personal, but like similar concept.
And so Storyworth, is that like for your older relatives, or is it just for anyone, or what is it?
I mean, kind of same as mine. It's like it's answering the biggest solution for older people, but like we could start it now. Yeah. We're gonna have a big ass book if we started now for the rest of our life.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's just interesting because I'm thinking about like answering questions. That's so dependent on how you answer them. And
yeah, our answers now would probably be different than our answers in like 5-10 years, maybe even 1 year.
Yeah, that is wild. Dude, it's just wild even to think about AIs can replicate faces now, and they can replicate voices now. You could technically upload by the time we're grandpa age, you could upload your face and your voice and have an AI model study your videos and somewhat know your personality and like hang out with your great grandkids.
Do you know what Black Mirror is? Have you watched Black Mirror?
I know the show. I probably don't know what episode.
There's an exact episode where they do that, and it's like someone's spouse passes away, so she it's like a Facebook, she uploads it all, and then she gets an AI chatbot that's supposed to be exactly like her spouse, and it like responds like him, and then at the end of it they like send like a robot to her that's supposed to be just like him. So that's like the Black Mirror holy shit version of that.
Dude,
so yeah.
I don't know. Okay, given that circumstance, would you do it? Like, would you clone yourself for your kids?
No, and the reason is I feel like there'd always be some sort of like weird attention, like, and you really like, I feel like a lot of people when they get old, maybe they just stayed in movies, but like they want to move on, they want to they want to be at peace, and like just having some AI going around acting like them seems like another Black Mirror episode.
I know why I wouldn't do it.
Why?
I would not do it, and the reason is I can't be sure how that version of me will be treated. And so we've seen before in social media algorithms where there'll be biases. They'll push a certain type of content, maybe for advertising purposes, or they'll push a certain type of content for political purposes. And if someone had an AI version of me and they're like, we're going to train it off your videos, we're going to train it off this, how do I know that they wouldn't put a preference that wasn't me in and use it to teach my grandkids something that I wouldn't want, or that isn't me? And I just couldn't be sure. So I don't like the idea of someone else having control over my legacy, even if they promised me it would be me and it wouldn't be. I also think that everything is supply and demand. I think the more you have, like with dollars, the more you have of the US dollar, the less a US dollar is worth. I think you could say the same thing with experiences. I bring this up a lot, but if you go to Disneyland once, it's the happiest place on earth. If you work there for 2 years, it's not going to be that happy. Yeah. And so to elaborate, if people are only hearing about me through my kids and my stories, then it's like it's like you're hearing about it word of mouth, and you just have a little taste of it. You're like, oh, like my grandpa spoke 7 languages, but I didn't really know my grandpa. He died, but I'm always like, I'm creating this image of what I think you'd be like speaking 7 languages. And if someone could just like unlimitedly interact with me online, like I feel like
it takes away the experience.
Yeah, it's gonna take
the
away
memory. It takes away the memories.
because there's so much opportunity to like. And if that AI is not perfectly representing me, it's just diminishing the stories of me because it's like, this is who I think you are. So I don't know. I mean, that's my thought.
It's so interesting though, because there very well could be a world in 20 years or even less where like it perfectly is just like a copy of your brain.
Yeah.
And that's the question of like, so it's going to be exactly you and you're theoretically living forever, but it's like not you. Do you still do it? And to my like previous point, I still say no. So if you're trying to do it to me in like 70 years, this is legally binding. I do not consent. It's just like, let's say you pass like in whatever 70, 80, maybe in the future, like in 120 years when I finally kick the can. Like it's my
120.
Yeah,
right, let's go.
Let's go. Dude, I don't know. I've been playing a lot of pickleball. I feel pretty lean.
Sorry.
No, it's funny. You kind of, it's a lot more peaceful to pass on. And like talking about memories, if your grandpa stays around with you forever, it just doesn't seem natural. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if in like 90, 100 years, your like grandparents and like great grandparents are still around. Get on with your life.
I kind of agree. And I almost feel like our grandpa's parents would agree too.
Yeah. It's just a course of life.
Okay. So naturally I have the follow-up question.
Yeah. I think I know.
I don't think you know, but I don't think you're
okay.
Do you think that ever I guess we'll say in our lifetime, you think there's a possibility of an AI girlfriend that could actually fulfill you?
I already have an AI girlfriend. And she bad. Just kidding. Yeah, probably.
No.
Probably. I mean, I'm sure Japan is cooking something up right now. I feel like even like 20 years ago, I feel like, wait, what's the robot? It was in like the Iraq video and it's like completely self-aware.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called,
but you know what I'm talking about. And like it's self-aware, and that's now. Talking 10, 20 years, I'm sure. I mean, people have made movies about it. I'm sure there will be something, but that I don't want to think about it.
I really strongly believe not. I think I can give you a fairly decent explanation.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say this. Let's say
where are we going with this, Ozzy?
Let's say it's gonna sound really bad for a second. So get the last one. Okay. Let's say I like a girl, and she doesn't like me back. Real human. I like her. She doesn't like me back, and I say, I'm gonna force you to love me. And let's hypothetically say I'm an evil person, so I lock her up in my room. I'm like trying to convince her to love me. I'm like, you will love me. I'm like, you must love me. I lock her up. I steal her, kidnap her. Will that girl ever love me because I did those things?
She could get Stockholm syndrome.
Okay, let's be real.
Okay, no. She will not ever love you.
Okay. The reason why she won't love me is because love is a choice. You can't force someone to love you. If I could force someone to love me, then hypothetically I would be able to pick that person, do something, and then they would love me. But in the real world, we know that girl, no matter what action I do, even if I force her to spend time with me 24/7, it doesn't make her love me. She has to, in her brain, say, I'm choosing to love you. So we know that love cannot exist without free will. And AI, although it can be trained to answer questions, it never will have free will because it's trained on algorithms. So if there's two identical AIs in the same situation, they've been trained the same way, they will always answer the same. So it is my belief that an AI will never be able to love. Although I think an AI can be able to entertain, but I don't think it'll be able to love. And similarly, I could give you another example, which is if you had a button And the day you had kids, you could hit that button and your kids would have no free will. They would just love you, do whatever you say, and follow every word perfectly forever. Would you hit it?
No.
You wouldn't hit it because you're taking away their love. You're just saying you're my little robot.
But I don't want AI kids. I want an AI girlfriend.
But do you get what I'm saying? That love needs free will and AI can't have free will.
I think I'm just being devil's advocate. I agree with you.
Yeah, but be devil's advocate.
You've seen Her. You've seen the movie Her.
I for sure a movie.
But no, this is a point I was thinking about when we got into this conversation. Like, yes, AI is trained on algorithm and they're trained on data, but aren't humans in a way? Like, you start out as a baby and you learn from taking in information.
Okay, this is good.
I know. You learn it from taking information, from learning from your parents. Theoretically, AI's parents are its creators. Parents would be our creators. And like over time, from your brain, you like start to connect things, your neurons are firing, and things start making sense. With AI, it gathers more data. Like, and with the Internet of Things, big data, whatever you want to call it, it has even more data. So theoretically, wouldn't it be able to get to a faster free will than we could as kids?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. It's complicated.
I have two thoughts, and I'll start with one. My one thought, counter argument would be, I think genetics changes this, because although humans can have the exact same, I can't remember if it would be nurturing or naturing.
Yeah.
You have the exact same experience. They can have differences because of genetics, where one person might prefer something, another person might prefer something else. The other thing is, if you believe in God, which, I mean, I'm a Christian.
I know,
I believe in God. You could say that God is our algorithm maker, that he makes our algorithm. I don't know how to get deep funny, so you think that God makes our algorithm. Well, a lot of people really struggle with the idea, people who aren't religious really struggle with the idea of how could a loving God send anyone to hell? They think they're like I'm a good person and I wouldn't send anyone to hell, so how could, if God's more loving than me, how could he send anyone to hell? And this will make sense. I want to get your thoughts on. My belief, this is my belief. My belief is that heaven and hell do exist. And that they are somewhat what you think they are. Heaven is this really awesome place with all positive emotions and happiness, and hell is this really terrible place with all bad emotions and suffering. I think that is true. But I think what people don't talk about, and this is my understanding, is that, and you'll hear spiritual people say this too, they'll say God is love. The Bible says God is love too. There's an acceptance between spiritual people and Christian people. The way I understand hell from all the research I've done is that heaven is simply living in relationship with God. You're at your closest point to God. God is love, so that's what makes it great. And to me, hell, while it is this horrible place, hell is existing in a place without God. And without God, there's no love, and that's why it's so bad. And just as I explained to you earlier that you can't have love without free will, is that God actually loves you so much that he gives you the free choice to decide if you want to spend eternity with him or without him. And so that while it seems messed up, like, oh, that people could go and suffer, it's actually, you couldn't have love if he just forced you to be in heaven with him. It's like, you can only have love if he gives you the option to choose to be with him or to choose not to be with him. I don't know what the question I was thinking of with this.
We were getting from algorithms and talking about free will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, though. I think that because essentially what you were saying with the rebuttal argument is that humans are technically...
We live off of data.
Data and algorithm. But I do think that if my belief is true, I think that we are created to have free will.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think we could create robots to have free will.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I think, I don't think anyone does yet, except maybe people working at Tesla with all the data. Elon. Yeah. I think genetics is a really good counter argument. I'm sure there is a world where like you can replicate genetics digitally, but To your point about like heaven and hell, I wouldn't consider myself a super religious person, but I do believe in some sort of higher power. My like kind of opinion on what that is changes a lot, but I very much, I get what you were saying, and this is what I was trying to go. There's something that I learned about in like sophomore year of high school that was really interesting to me, and always, whether you're very religious or not, always was interested to me. And I'm paraphrasing, but it was called like the iron laws of the universe, and it's like the reasoning why in history there is tsunamis, there's diseases, and there's like war, and it's kind of like the world and history kind of balancing itself, so like people can live, so there's not overpopulation and things like that. So that was always like a point to my argument when people are like, if there is a God, why do we have war? And again, I would consider myself agnostic, but leaning that there is some sort of higher power. I don't know, but I think there's like parts to both of it.
I mean, it's one of those things that we can't ever know for sure.
Until ChatGPT tells us.
ChatGPT lays down the law.
ChatGPT 5's got the answer.
I will say Elon Musk's theory of simulation has become exponentially more plausible in the last 2 years.
Do you believe in aliens?
Dude, it's so funny you thought that, because what I was about to ask you, for context for the audience, the other day, we're at this big creator event, probably 40, 50 creators. The other day, we sat down and watched a YouTube documentary on aliens by this creator, Sky Cowens. If you want to look it up, it's called Abducted.
She worked on it with Yes Theory, too. So, yeah.
She was telling me that she thinks it's possible. This wasn't, I think this was her leading theory, but she said someone mentioned to her that she thinks it's possible that aliens are us in the future, and that like they're now discovering the technology of how to come back, or how to, I don't know, capture our souls or something. They're visiting.
It's like Terminator, where you have to go back.
I don't know. I do not believe that. As far as if I believe in aliens, I certainly wouldn't say I don't believe in aliens. I'm not one of those people who's like, I think aliens are possible because the galaxy is so infinite that there must be other life. That's not me. I don't even know that the galaxy is infinite. And I think everyone who says the galaxy is infinite, I don't think that's a really provable thing. So,
yeah, you can't really prove if anything's infinite. How are you going to reach the end? At least, well, I don't know. Maybe there's astrophysicists out there.
But like people will say like we're this solar system inside of billions of other solar systems. Like, bro, like we're talking about Mars. We can't even see Pluto. How will we know that there's? I mean, I'm sure there's some science on it, but
it's funny you say that. When I was when I was younger, I mean, I still kind of think that, but when I was younger, I always thought about that. Like even when I was in like, maybe it was my sophomore year I learned a lot, I guess, my sophomore year. But like when they were talking about the finding of, like in the what's the era? Oh my God. The like golden age of learning. The golden age of information, what's the name for it? The Renaissance. Yeah, the Renaissance era, where like people were like, there's the world and like we're not the center. Yeah, like we're not geocentric, we're heliocentric. That's so crazy for them to be saying that, because like they didn't have shit. They were just like, we are not the center of the universe. Like, and obviously we're far past that, but like now we're like in a future version of that. But like, and not only are we the center of the universe, but the universe is infinite. And I trust scientists' data, but like it is just conceptually hard to understand. Like, how do you know that? Like,
I don't want to speak out of like just gibberish, because I do not know. But I think to say as an absolute fact that the universe is infinitely expanding and that we're one solar system and 100 million other ones, I don't think you could prove that. It's definitely not where we're at right now.
I'm gonna prove it. I'm
sure
getting on the spaceship.
Reason for why they believe that I need to look into. To answer your questions, again with aliens, I don't know.
This is This is some fun turns we're having.
I don't know, but I do believe in good and evil. And I think I believe in good powers that aren't just what we can see. So, I mean, as a Christian, I believe in angels, but I believe there's also just good powers, and I believe there's evil powers. I don't think that humans are inherently evil. I don't think a human just wakes up and was like, I want to murder. But I really think that there's evil forces that work in our world. I don't know if that's taboo or not, but yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember like one of the first times I've like really thought about that concept was in like senior year psychology, and then watching a crash course video about psychology about like, are humans evil? And I don't remember their ending, but it didn't really make me think, because you think of, I mean, like the highest version of it, like Hitler.
Yeah.
Not a great dude by any means. But it's not like he was born like that. It's not like some of the worst people in the world were born like that. Like, it is nature and nurture.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, I would say there aren't evil people, but there is evil forces that lead the people to thus become evil. But I do think there are some evil people, but like, people are not inherently evil. I do believe, just like going back to like cavemen and like that brain, people, at least some percent, are inherently to the core. The best word isn't selfish, but I think they're almost like all of my friends are like selfless. But I do believe when it comes down to it, like, you're controlling your life.
Yeah.
And maybe there's exceptions that I can't think of right now, but like, you are going to do 100 times out of like 1,000, like, you are going to do what's best for your life, I think.
Dude, I agree. You're sparking many thoughts. I have two routes.
I'm the thinker.
I'll give you an option. I can either ask you.
I feel like I'm playing like a Goosebumps book or like a Choose Your Own Adventure game. Option A?
Yeah. Option A, I can ask you a deep God moral question. Wait, what was option B?
Tell a funny joke.
What was the last thing you just said?
Selfish.
Oh, okay.
Selfless.
What was I going to say? Frick, I'm feeling my chin from where I hit the trash can on my chin. All right, I guess you're going to get the...
I was probably going to pick that one.
Deep moral God question.
Yeah.
Okay. One of my problems with atheism, and I think even for people who just believe in God but no religion, when someone, I'll say atheist for now, but I think I could make the same point for you or spiritual people. When an atheist says something is wrong, when they say murder is wrong or they say rape is wrong, why is it wrong?
That's funny you say that. I'll let you continue unless that was that into sentence.
So this is my point. As a Christian or a religious person, I was told that here's what you are to do and what you're not to do. You're not to kill, you're not to murder, you're not to steal. But not also was that I told that, in the Bible it says you are created in the image of God and God has these characteristics and therefore this is how you live. But as an atheist, if you say, yo, you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't murder, you can make one argument. The argument is that that's what your country's law. But your country's law switches based on what country you go to. We didn't always have a country's law. If you're an atheist and you say you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't murder, and Hitler says, I'm an atheist, I think you should kill all Jews, what makes him wrong and you right?
I feel like there's like complicated and there's very simple answers. The very simple is it's wrong, but then you have the point of why is it wrong?
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious to be like, dude, it's freaking wrong. Like,
no, yeah. But why? And that's always the best follow-up question ever. I'm trying to track it back as far as possible, because I would say, like, for me, my parents aren't atheists. They're not the most religious, but like, their parents were more religious, and maybe their parents were more religious. So then theoretically, like, going from like the nature versus emphasis on nurture side, like, your parents told you when you grew up you learned stuff was wrong, but why did they think it was wrong? So pulling that all the way back, and I'm trying to pull it all the way back mentally to like before there was religion.
Yeah.
And like there's always been religion, which is crazy. Not to get sidetracked, but there's like the theory that like if you put 100 people on an island in some amount of time, they will create like a religion.
Yeah.
Which is so.
It's probably true.
Yeah, I believe it is. Somebody should do some Stanford prison shit and try that.
Someone do some anecdotal research. Grab 99 friends.
Yeah. Men in Black brainwash them. I mean, it's hard to go into the real answer. It's hard to answer without going all the way back and asking cavemen why they aren't killing each other.
I think cavemen were killing each other.
But they still formed groups.
Yeah.
And maybe the most intuitive, like animalistic answer is like for your own survival. If you start killing other people, that makes you look like a threat to other people, and then maybe you'll get killed. If you start robbing, that makes you look like a threat to other people. So because that's just like my other option, because I couldn't say like it's just intuition, you're born in it.
However, though, not to cut you off, but if you believe that you're made in the image of God, you could say it was intuition, you're born into it.
Yes. Yeah. That's fair.
I have heard one good rebuttal.
Yeah.
Do you have something you're going to say?
Oh, you didn't like my rebuttal?
No. I think it's pretty in line with what you said.
Okay, yeah.
What you said is you become a threat.
You become like a target to your other people in society.
The rebuttal I've heard is that as a human, your goal should be to advance humanity. And if your goal is to advance humanity... Yeah, so I mean, that would be my double rebuttal is why. And I would also say, like, what defines advancing humanity? Hitler could say, I had so much power, I was advancing my life, natural selection, I'm a winner, you know? But
yeah.
But then again, to your point, he ends up getting killed because he
was killing everyone else, and people were like, chill, bro.
I don't know if there's a good answer. And I think that is a strong point for existence of a God, for sure.
That's fair.
I don't know. You have any more thoughts before I hit us with a wild topic change?
Hit me with the wild topic change.
It is a little bit kind of on what we were talking about earlier, but I need to give the audience some context. We told you we're at a creator event, and there's the big creator's dilemma, which I'm sure you've talked about before, which is how do I stay present but record everything because I'm trying to make art? And as we were talking about earlier with our AI grandparents and how like the more you have of them, actually like the less it's worth. Like if you could just access your AI grandpa. Sometimes I think about how when you go somewhere, you go to a waterfall, you go on a hike, and you take 1 million photos, especially as a creator, does having 1 million photos and videos of the event make it less valuable?
That's such a good question, and something I'm always thinking about, because like I love recording everything, but I hate having my camera out. And something I've talked to like Max about and other people is that like, and I talked to Ryan about, like when you have your camera out, like people change a bit. Like maybe not here, maybe not here as much, but still here a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
And my kind of thought is it's all intention. Like one very specific example is I was watching this Yes Theory video about them going to, I believe, an African tribe, and it was like in a podcast about it. It was Thomas, and he was talking about how like people that are with him are so shocked at how little he has his camera out. Like his intention was to go there to make a YouTube video, but like he doesn't really have his camera out because he gets like one thing. He was like, that's enough to tell the story. He doesn't care about getting it perfect. Yeah. He's just, in that example, he wants it. And I've always tried to live like that since. Like the only change is like when I'm doing client work and the point is to have your camera out, or if it's by yourself and you're working to have your camera out. But like when you're in a place like this, and I know a lot of people here are making like reflections of like the entire camp, and it's so difficult because you want to be like, the point of it is to be here and interact, but also like we're creators, so you want to be creating. I really think it's, first of all, knowing the line of when to record and when not to record. because some moments you want to keep for yourself. I think it's about just when you don't have your camera on, living in that moment.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, like the sneaky way of it is, they call it like Dogma 22, right? Or just just like recording stuff really small. I think one like very honest answer is like you put a DSLR in front of someone. It's a lot different than if you're just recording with your phone. That's one way. That's one way externally, but like internally, to answer the beginning question, I think it's just about intention, and I don't want to say settling, but like get the shot and put it away.
Yeah. That was a long answer, but I think it was great.
Sorry.
My thoughts are quite similar. To give a really blunt answer to the question, I think yes. I think the more footage you have of something, the less the event's worth. And the way I would defend that is, and this could be gone both ways, but everyone's had a moment where something crazy happened, like a friggin' squirrel jumped on their leg, or they saw lightning strike 2 feet from them and they didn't record it. And the first thing everyone says is, oh, I wish I had a video of that. Like, I wish I had a video of that.
Yeah.
But you know that it's those moments where you're telling everyone the story. You're telling everyone the story because it was so crazy. A squirrel jumped on your leg. And sometimes those stories are so crazy that people don't believe you. But I think when you don't have footage of something, it leaves room for your imagination to create whatever you want. Where it's like, you've told the squirrel story 1,000 times and you've never intentionally lied about it. But it's become this iconic, legendary story because no one can fact check it. Or because if that makes sense, that's one of the thoughts I have. The other thought I have is, it's interesting as creators to have this conversation because I think it's a lot different from the perspective of someone who goes somewhere and they're just recording everything to have it on their camera roll.
People that go to concerts.
Yeah, oh my God. Dude, do not get me started on someone who puts 10 Snapchat stories in a row of a concert.
Stop.
It's
Stop
like,
it.
You can look the concert up on YouTube and pull it off. There's someone recording it in a high quality camera and your iPhone's like, and you.
But that's kind of the fun part of it.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a rule where I can only record 2 songs at a concert. And I think maybe that's even too much. There's something I thought of. I don't know if you're aware, because we can have a good conversation if you're aware of this. Did you see when that kid, his name was Manny, asked Olivia Rodrigo to prom?
Of course I've seen that. Okay.
Me and Jaden, I think you met my friend Jaden. Doesn't matter. But we've had so many conversations about this, is when he asked Olivia to prom, he was like this. So you're seeing the perspective of the camera like this, selfie mode for audio listeners. And he asks Olivia, and Olivia feels super peer pressured. I think she says something like, oh yeah, get my number, and then she basically ghosted him. Me and Jaden both believe that if he wasn't holding a camera, she would have said yes. And I can't prove it or not prove it, but the other thing that I think is really notable about it is he's obviously doing it for a YouTube video.
Yeah.
But they're at her premiere, so there's 400 other people videoing it. So he easily could have just not videoed it himself, and then if she said yes, asked any of the 400 people for footage who are recording it. I don't know what the question is here, but that moment, I don't know why it really sat with me.
No, I know exactly what you mean. And it brings me back to like this point I remember from Casey Neistat, that's just like whenever he's filming, he always tries to be like really like subtle with his camera, like pointing it out just to try to keep people as natural as possible, like pointing it at like angle and just like pointing it up. Really, I think the best for like YouTube, the best videos are like where you hardly see it. But for the part of the Manny video, I've seen that a lot, and there's a part of me that almost makes me feel like he wanted her to say no, because then it's like the entire. I'm not trying to start shit, but like I could see it.
This gets clipped.
Shit, dude, Maddie, I respect the game, bro, but like I'm sure it's a win-win no matter what.
Yeah.
He has a great video. He's a great thumbnail.
Past 1 million views, I believe.
Yeah, and
Congratulations.
yeah, and you have people rooting for you then when you're like now you're like kind of the underdog.
I do think, though, and this is not just like to dunk on Manny. If I was you, I might have done the same thing. Like, I'm sure I saw the video, it was spur of the moment, but just to be critical, like couch quarterback.
Yeah,
I think that he made the worst option because I think the best option would have been to use other people's footage after you asked, and then I think the second best option would to have a friend from a distance film it.
I don't know. I think visually, I see what you're saying with the yes versus no at the camera, but I think visually it looks so much cooler with like, holy shit, he's right there. He's next to Olivia. Yeah. And you don't see that if there's a camera over here and you have the video.
Okay, well, that's why I think asking the other people for the footage. But here's the thing, though. Let's say his goal really is to get her to say yes.
Oh, I'm sure it was, but I was just trying to be a little silly boy.
If he's just being recorded and he asks, well, then it's like, this kid has the most massive balls. Like, he's freaking pulling up in front of 400 cameras, asking Olivia to go to prom. Like, that's baller. But when he's like this, it's immediately like, I know you're making a YouTube. Like, you want a moment. It's like, you want clout. Like, this is a moment. And did he also want to go to prom with her? I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And I'm not Olivia, but if I put myself in Olivia's shoes, I think I'd be way more likely to say yes if I thought someone was doing it like purely for.
But also, I don't think I would, even if like, especially if I'm famous, I don't think I'd ever say yes to a random person to go to prom with them. Mason Ramsey did that though. Did you see that?
No.
Mason Ramsey went to prom with like a random follower or something.
Everyone, you've seen those videos or like news stories where like a model goes to prom with a high schooler.
This guy that I worked with, one of my cousin's best friends, went on a date with Jeannie Bouchard because he tweeted at her.
I don't know who that is, but
tennis player.
She's cool.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, she's bad. All right, I think the only thing we need to cover left is. Oh wait, no, there's two things we need to cover. You have a tattoo that you wanted to show me.
Oh yeah.
I hope it's on your butt. No. No. I hope it's a trans app.
Can you see it?
Yeah, go show the camera real quick. Okay, so for audio listeners, it's a line on his left wrist.
You'll figure out it's not a line in a second.
Tell us what it is.
So it's about to get real.
Yeah.
About like, I think 2-3 a few years ago, I had a family member pass away, and I went to the funeral, and at the funeral there was a poem there called The Dash.
Yeah.
And the essence of the poem is that when you die, on your tombstone, there's the day that you were born and the day that you passed away. And in between, there's a dash. And the dash represents your entire life, all your decisions, relationships, priorities. So having it right here on my wrist is a reminder to live your life.
Wow, bro. That perfectly goes into my outro question. So I think I'm going to have to skip the Mr. Beast stuff.
You didn't talk anything about my like content or anything. That's funny. It's like my business.
Okay, I'll open the.
No, it's funny.
Do you want to talk about Mr. Beast, your content? Anything you feel passionate that you would like to say?
Probably the most passionate thing was my agency, which I already talked about at the beginning.
A little bit.
But yeah, we can talk in like a few years when my content is like my main priority. I'm not even just saying this. Like, I was telling you before, I really wasn't feeling this, and I think this is probably the best podcast so far. So, Let's go.
Out of all,
God damn it!
out of the base camp one. Wait, but that's
sorry, Janice. Sorry, Janice. Well, you're gonna have to cut this bar.
I don't cut anything.
I know.
All right, but okay, just because I teased it, you've done some freelance work for Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Give them like a minute of what that's looked like, but just tease them. What freelance work for Mr. Beast looks like.
To this date, probably at least 1,500 ideas pitched in 2 months, maybe more.
Unlimited festivals.
a lot of Feastables. Hashtag buy Feastables. And also get some merch. MrBeast.store. Yeah, just coming up with a lot of ideas, trying to push a lot of boundaries.
Great. That's all you get as far as working for Mr. Beast goes. All right, back to the dash. You said there's a poem. I never read the poem before. The day you're born, the day you die, what matters is the dash.
Mm-hmm.
Every episode I ask my guests the same outro question, which is based on soul wealth. It's engineered to get you to think from that perspective, which is, when you die, what do you want people to say about you?
That is a good question. That's a question I'd ask.
Gas me up. No.
It's the worst question I've ever heard in my fucking life, bro. I think about that all the time, and it's so hard to answer still. I mean, everyone wants to be remembered, I feel like, as a good person, a person who helped other people. I don't want to do that. I think I would want to be remembered as someone who was able to touch a lot of people.
Isn't that essentially what you just said?
Wait. That through inspiration, through content and conversations, and education through content and conversations. But also, like, on a personal note, someone who is really able to create a lot of strong relationships with a lot of really cool people and have a lot of adventures and just really live life and just be an extremely curious person that makes really funny jokes.
All right.
What about you? What is your?
Do I want to be remembered?
Yeah. Do people ask you that?
Every once in a while, a guest will ask me, and I try to give a new answer every time.
Well, shouldn't it be consistent? Well, it can add on.
Yeah, it's not like a drastic.
You mix it up every time.
Well, it's like, when I die, do I want people to say one thing about me? Do I want them to be like,
Mid.
he helped others and that's it?
Yeah.
I have a lot of things. Although I don't expect when I ask a guest for them to list off 50 things they want people to say about them. But ideally, you would want people to have a lot of things to say about you.
Yeah.
Number one, as a religious person, and this is like a very cliche Christian answer, but I want to be remembered in similar ways to Jesus. I think he lived an extremely sacrificial life helping others, and I want to live a sacrificial life helping others. I want to be lived as someone who pushed the message of soul wealth. So because of me, I want people to measure, and I don't even like to say because of me. Maybe soul wealth lives on through other people that started at me, but it doesn't have to be credited to me. But I want people to specifically measure success by relationships and memories and be like, damn, similarly to how someone might speak about yes theory and be like, I really try to seek discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
There's moments where in the past I wouldn't have jumped in this cold river, but because I've watched yes theory, I will. And so, and I feel my heart feels very specifically for the creator industry, because even though no creator will flat out say, I'm doing this for the money or fame, is that true though? And money and fame aren't bad. They aren't good. They're what you make of it. And the issue to me with money and fame is that they're in the future. And I think when anyone has a statement that says, if I get 1 million subscribers, then I'll be happy, I think you're setting yourself up for a drastic failure.
You should never, that's one thing I've learned. If you can't be happy in the moment, you won't be happy when you meet your goal. Happiness is a mindset, not like a solution from a goal.
Exactly. Nailed on the head. So I want to be remembered as someone who made people measure success differently, and specifically in the creator industry where they could sit down. I think a concept you would really like, and I've mentioned it 1 million times in podcasts, so sorry for the viewers who've heard this, but I really want to say it to Max, is everyone, when they publish something, whether I'm publishing a podcast, you're publishing a YouTube video, someone else is publishing a song, someone's publishing an article, a book, most people, let's just take the post button. I know not all of those have a post button. When you publish a book, it's not like...
You press publish.
Yeah. All right. Let's take the post button, the publish button. Most people, when they hit post or publish, they don't know if they're successful yet. They're waiting to see how many views did the video get? How many likes did it get? How did my friends approve of it? And then based on everything that happens after the post, they'll decide, was that a good video? Was it successful? And my goal is that, dude, yes, you can do things so that those might happen, but you can't control anything after the post, so therefore it shouldn't be your measure of success. You should, by the time you hit post, know, was it successful? So if I measure this by relationships and memories, I'll always have the memory of sitting on this bench with you and talking to you. I'll take that to my grave. Hopefully I don't have Alzheimer's or something. And this is building on our relationship. So even if this podcast flopped and got 0 views,
Which it won't.
which it won't, that's a win for me. And everything else is a bonus. And if I could just get people to think like that, that would be a huge W.
Dude, I fucking love that. I'm gonna steal that.
Please do steal it. You don't even have to credit me. Just
I think
steal it.
the best content, the best books, the best music is when you make it, like the process of making it and the fact that you did XYZ. Let's say it's like a documentary and you told someone's story. It was a YouTube video and you like helped a lot of people, or it was a song and you like again told some like your story. That's like success on its own. It's intention though, because there are videos which are bent on the success of views, but inherently like your content should be successful before you post it in your mind.
And I think a good question to the viewers is like, a lot of people like don't quite understand what that means. They get the concept of a post button. I think the easiest question to ask you is, success should never be in the past. It should never be in the future. It's good to reminisce, but you should never live in the good old days. You should never be like, oh, I wish I could go back. I wish I could go back. And you should never be like, I can't wait. I can't be happy until I can't be happy.
Yeah.
It should be right here. Do everything you can to figure out until it's now.
I completely agree.
And so, on that note, we'll wrap it up.
Mic
But-
drop.
We
But
need some thumbnail photos, so just give me some. Put your legs like this so that they don't go into your body cutout. We don't need to be next to each other.
oh,
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. All right, I hug at the end of every episode.
that's your thumbnail right there. That's awesome, dude. I'm so glad.
1 hour and 2 minutes, bro.